Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to carry on looking at Phyrexia versus the Coalition Duel deck, and we're going to look at the Coalition deck now, which is all 5 colours. Can you believe we're this far into Duel decks, and this is the first multicoloured Duel deck? They've all been monocoloured up till now, and now we have the complete opposite monocolour, which is all 5 colours. So we'll see how that works out. Well, I have my thoughts on how it works out, but we'll see as we get into it. So, deck list here. So we've got 17 creatures, 9 instants, 5 enchantments, 2 artifacts, 2 sorcery, and 25 land, and mana curve off to the side there. It's actually quite similar, I think, to the Phyrexian one, where it really spikes at 3. So yeah, like the Phyrexia one, pretty much all the cards in here are like classic invasion block era cards, which have just been updated with new frames, in some cases new art. There's a few more modern cards in here, but it's yeah, the whole idea is it's a very kind of retro kind of product, yeah, as a throwback to those earlier blocks. So the cards are kind of not the power level we'd expect to see at this time in the game's history. But anyway, let's dive in and start looking at them. So this is a really nice thing, I think, that to have as 3 of the rares, like 3 of the Primeval dragons. So we've got Daragaz, Rith, and Traver, which are basically, I think, the 3 best ones, I would say. They were definitely the 3 that I liked the most. So the only 2 that aren't in here are Crosis and Dromar. And Dromar kind of has like weird anti-synergy with itself, and Crosis is just kind of not fun. And also like the mana base here doesn't support the other 2 really as much. It's definitely more kind of like Naya colors, and then with a splash of black and blue, as you know, kind of like these actually, as these 5-color precons usually tend to be. Anyway, let's look at them. So all the Primeval dragons are all 6/6s for 3 colors, and then 3 different colors. They're all flyers, obviously, and then they all have this ability where you choose a color and you pay a mana cost, and you get an effect based on like the color you chose. So Daragaz is, if he does combat damage, you pay 2 and a red, and if you do, you choose a color. That player reveals their hand, and then Daragaz deals extra damage equal to the number of cards for that color revealed this way. Seeing as the Phyrexian deck is basically mono black, although there's a few artifacts in there, you're pretty much always choosing that. Rith is you pay 2 and a green, you get a 1/1 sapling. You choose a color and you get a 1/1 sapling for every permanent of that color on the battlefield. And this is the only one that like really feeds into itself, because obviously then from future on you can just choose green, and you've already then got a bunch of green saplings, and then they just then feed into themselves. So Riths is probably, I'd say, the strongest of these effects. And then Travar is just gain life, which is like still okay, but like it's just not as good as doing extra damage or making a bunch of extra tokens. But Travar's still okay. I mean, it's still a big 6/6 dragon. This is the thing: all the dragons rely on doing combat damage. The thing is, like, if you're already hitting your opponent with like a 6/6 dragon, do you really need the extra effect? It's kind of like a bit of a win more effect, I suppose. But yeah, it's nice that all 3 of these are in here, like with new frames and stuff. Not new art, which is unfortunate, but it's it's still nice to have them. And then we have Gerard Capuchin, like the original OG. I guess the closest thing to a main character, like the storyline had for a really long time. But 3 and double white for 3/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life for every card in your opponent's hand, which is alright. And 3 and a white, tap type creature, activate only if Gerard is attacking. So kind of a very limited master decoy ability. He's alright. Yeah, he's just solidly okay. Definitely below the power curve of what we'd see in a legendary creature these days, but like at the time this was fine, I suppose. He was doing things that white cards did, which was gain life and tap things down, and that was basically all white was allowed to do. He's okay. And considering actually like the card pool you're working with, if you play these 2 decks against each other, he's actually like fairly strong, I would say, given the 2 decks. So yeah, he's all right. And then we have 2 nomadic elves, so 1 green for a 2/2. I think this is the first case of like a 2/2 for 2 being strictly better than Grizzly Bears at the time, because it's a 2/2 for 2 with no drawback and ability. Not a great ability, but it is still an ability. So 1 green, you add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, so it's just kind of very inefficient mana filtering. The deck is mostly green. Obviously, you got like a splash of blue for Trevo, you got a splash of black for Daragaz. But yeah, it's okay. I think Korean Elves is better. So it's 1 green for 1/1. As it ends the battlefield, you choose a color, and you can either add green or add a mana of the chosen color. But like again, like both are fine. But I think Korean Elves is just like a little bit better, because it can tap for that color rather than have to like filter it and spend mana to get mana. And then we got the Battle Mages. So these are cards I used to really like back in the days because I thought they were just kind of cool looking, and yeah, having double kicker abilities was pretty fun. These days, maybe I'm being unfair by judging them by today's standards, but like I just don't think they're that great. And anyway, let's look at them in detail, and I'll let you decide. So we got Sunscape, Thunderscape, and Thornscape. So they're all 2/2s for 3 mana, which is, at the time, that's what Grey Ogre stats, which was kind of the standard anyway. So then they all have these kicker abilities. They all have 2 kicker abilities, like 1 expensive and 1 cheap. So Sunscapes is 1 green and or 2 blue. So if you pay the green kicker cost, it destroys a creature with flying, and there's a few flying creatures in the Phyrexia deck. And if you play the blue kicker cost, you draw 2 cards. So you're looking at, if you want to pay 6 mana, then it's a 2/2 that lets you draw 2 and it enters the battlefield. If you want to play 5, it's a 2/2 that destroys a flying creature when it comes in. If you want to, sink, what is that? Oh god, why can't I work it out? 8 mana, then it does both. I mean, you typically never need to do both. The point is the flexibility, and I think that's really what you're paying for, is the option, which is probably why it's like slightly overcosted. We've got Thunderscape then, which is has a black and a green kicker. So the black is to make a player discard 2 cards. So actually like 5 mana for a 2/2 that makes them discard 2 on enters is okay, I suppose. And then the single green is to destroy an enchantment. This is okay because there's Phyrexian Arena in the Phyrexian deck. I don't think off the top of my head, I can't remember if there's another sort of like strong enchantment. Definitely Phyrexian Arena. You've got like some answers to artifacts and enchantment in this deck. I would say the artifacts are actually the more of a problem in the Phyrexian deck. But yeah, this is okay. It's one of these cases like, do you hold on to it until you need the kicker cost, or do you just play it early on to just have an extra body on the board? And considering you've only got 17 creatures, actually, most of the time I think you would just play this just to have an extra body. And then Thornscape, who I think is the best one, honestly, just because it's kicker costs are very cheap. So 2 and a green for a 2/2, and you pay 1 red or 1 white for its kicker. The red is a shock, which makes it really, really good, I think. For like 4 mana for a 2/2 that comes and does 2 to anything is actually pretty good. And the white is then to destroy an artifact, which is also very good against the Phyrexian deck, because it's full of like quite problematic artifacts like the Colossus, the Phyrexian Processor, Voltaic Key, stuff like that. So yeah, out of all these battle mages, I think the Thornscape one is the best one in the in the meta of the 2 decks against each other. Then we've got a single Thornscape Apprentice, single green mana for a 1/1. You can spend 1 white to tap a creature, or 1 red to give something first strike turn 10. Really like this Thornscape Apprentice. It was a sort of a favourite card back in the day because I just like the utility of it. I liked all these apprentices, if I'm honest. And yeah, I would have liked to have more in the deck, honestly. Both of its abilities are very good. It's either like a master decoy or it's messing up combat math. So yeah, really like it. Single Verduran Emissary, 2 and a green for a 2/3. It has kicker for 1 and red, and its kicker is to destroy an artifact, which again is useful against the Phyrexian deck. There's a whole bunch of artifacts in there, like I said. So then you're paying 5 mana for a 2/3 to destroy an artifact. Again, it's like expensive. Like there may be a case where you just need to play this and get it on the board as an extra body, and then it's actually not too bad for like the time it was printed. Like a 2/3 for 3 was actually sort of okay for the time, actually. Yeah, and then we've got a single Charging Troll, who's actually still, I would say, still okay by sort of today's standards. So 2 green and white for a 3/3 with Vigilance, and you pay 1 green to regenerate him. So 1 mana regeneration, I'm always a sucker for. Yeah, so 3/3 Vigilance and 1 mana regeneration for 4 mana is actually pretty difficult for the Phyrexian deck to deal with. They got Slay, which kills a green creature without allowing regeneration, and that I think is really like the only answer they've got to Charging Troll, honestly. This is like one of the better creatures in the deck, and it's a shame there's only one of them in here. And there's an aura in here that goes on it and makes it even better. I can say that from experience because I did exactly that. And then we've got 2 Yavimaya Elders to tie things off, so 1 and double green for a 2/1. When it dies, you can search your library up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put into a hand, and then shuffle, and it's got an ability where you pay 2 and sacrifice them to draw a card. Honestly, gives you quite a lot of value if you can get him down and then also pop his ability to sacrifice them to draw a card. Then he's turning 1 card into 3, like the 2 lands, and also whatever you draw. So yeah, pretty good. I really like Yavimaya Elder, actually. And I think this is definitely new art, but I'm not sure if it was new for this product or if it had been used before. But yeah, really nice effect, I think. And then non-creature spells. So this is the foil face card, and it's weird because I think it's the only dual deck where the foil face card is not a creature. So Urza's Rage, 2 and a red, instant speed. Can't be countered by spells or abilities. Doesn't matter against the Phyrexian deck anyway. It's mono black. So Urza's Rage does 3 damage to target creature or player. If it was kicked for 8 and a red, it does 10 damage instead, and the damage can't be prevented again, which also doesn't matter because you're mono black. It has no against mono black. It has no damage prevention. So if you pay what 9, you pay 12 mana. That's 10 damage. It's possible, I suppose, to get up to 12 mana because you've got some land ramp, you've got some mana dorks. And it's a big scary burn spell, but this definitely, I don't think this was definitely a weird choice as the foil face rare, and I think that was kind of the reaction when the product came out, because I think there are two clear cards I think would have been a much better foil face rare for this deck. I mean, you could have made one of the Primeval dragons into the foil face rare, but we'll get into a sort of a mini what could have been later on. As is, it's all right. If the game goes on and you manage to get 12 mana, then obviously 10 damage is great. But it's a weird choice. I hope you agree with me that it's a weird choice as the foil face card. Definitely you could include it in the deck, but it's weird to make it the foil face card. I mean, apart from the fact maybe it portrays Urza, and then it's because Urza was obviously a really pivotal figure in the Phyrexian invasion. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird choice to me. Right, and then we've got 2 Armadillo Cloak. This is definitely new art as well. So 1 a green and white. Aura goes on a creature, gives it +2/+2 and trample, and whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. So not updated to lifelink. It is still the old Spirit Link ability where it's technically a triggered ability, but this is what you put on the Charging Troll to make it an absolute beast to deal with. Yeah, really like Armadillo Cloak. Even to this day, I think it's a pretty solid little aura. Yeah, it's good. I like it. The important thing as well, that ability stacks, so it's better than lifelink, so you can get multiple triggers of it. Right, and then we got some domain spells, because this was a thing back in Invasion Block, the introduction of domain. Before, it wasn't keyworded as domain, but it was definitely a theme that ran through all the colors. So we've got single tribal flames, 1 in a red, does X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of basic land types amongst lands you control. So the thing with domain cards is, you kind of want domain to be at least 3, I think, for the card to start feeling good. Because 1 in a red for 3 damage to target creature or player. I mean it's at sorcery speed actually, but at that point it's lightning strike, which is kind of okay. Yeah, I mean once domain hits 5, then you're laughing because you're getting a really good deal then. But yeah, I think you want domain to be at least 3, which I don't think is actually difficult to do in the deck, as we see we've got a whole bunch of land search abilities. So yeah. Evasive action is a counter spell that's based on domain. You counter a spell unless its controller pays X equal to your domain. So yeah, that's okay. So again, at three lands, this is mana leak, and then it gets better from there. And then allied strategies, target player draws a card equal to their domain card. Actually, it counts their type. So if you ever play this in a multiplayer game on a teammate or something, it checks their lands, not yours. But yeah, again, at 3, this is 5 mana to draw 3 at sorcery speed, which is fine. And again, if you get this to 5, then obviously then it's pretty good. And then finally, Exotic Curse is another domain spell. 2 in the black, aura goes on a creature, and the enchanted creature gets -1/-1 for equal to your domain count. So yeah, kind of just a slow, kind of janky removal spell, but it's still okay. There's some big creatures obviously in the Phyrexia deck that this goes quite nicely on. This sort of hampers the negator a lot, I suppose. Right, and then we've got 2 Fertile Ground, which is not land ramp, but it is mana fixing, which is important in this deck. So 1 green, whenever enchanted lands tap for mana, you add 1 extra mana of any colour, which is really nice, so a land can double up. I don't think there's any ways of untapping land and sort of double dipping on it and getting the extra mana that way, but it's still okay. It's obviously nice and cheap, and it helps accelerate mana, which is really nice, and fix your colours, so that's okay. 2 Harrows, which is lovely, so 2 and a green, instant speed, additional cost, sacrifice, cast it, you have to sacrifice land, and then search your library for 2 base lands, put them onto the battlefield, not tapped, which is amazing, and then you shuffle your library. So this is really nice to at the the end of an opponent's turn, maybe you do this, sacrifice maybe a tapped land anyway, a land that you've taps to cast Harrow, and you get two in straight away, and obviously that can help fix lands. And we're not playing like with landfall. I haven't got any Zendikar cards, but yeah, Harrow's great. I really love Harrow. And then you got one each of the charms, the original like multicolored charms. So Daragaz's charm, Rith's charm, Treval's charm. So like with all charms, they all have 3 different options. You pick one, and each option is basically it's kind of overcosted, but again, what you're paying for is the versatility in the options. So Daragaz's charm is the most straightforward because it either does Raise Dead, Lightning Bolt, or Giant Growth, which is fine. You wouldn't want to pay 3 mana for any of those effects on their own, but again, what you're paying for here is the versatility. So Rith's Charm lets you destroy a non-basic land, which is useless against the Phyrexian deck. It's got no non-basic lands, or you make saplings, or you prevent all damage a source of your choice would deal this turn, which is like that's definitely a weak choice. Like just preventing all damage a single source would do is like not worth 3 mana. But I suppose if it's the Negator or the Colossus, I suppose that's okay. I think the best choice there is making the saplings. Soft sailing Daragaz, which is the best option. I think all those options are equally good. So obviously, just depends what the situation is. And then Treval's Charm, you either destroy an enchantment or exile an attacking creature. That's probably the strongest effect. Or you draw a card and then discard a card, which is all right. But it's still all about that second option, I think, to exile an attacking creature. So that's really good. Then we have a single Gerard's Command, green and white to untap a creature and give it +3/+3 turn, like old school Savage Surge, I suppose. Yeah, this is alright. There were very few spells like that back in the day, like that gave the sort of buff and the surprise untap, where we get them, I think, quite a lot now, or like we've seen them a lot in recent sets and stuff. This is like, I feel like one of the first ones, and yeah, it's Giant Growth and untap. It's pretty good. And then a single Narrow Escape. This feels like such a weird inclusion. There is probably a reason it's in here, which I'll theorize on. But 2 and a white, you return a permanent you control to owner's hand, and then you gain 4 life. Firstly, I think this is just overcosted at 3 mana. I think this would be fine at 2. I think it'd be absolutely fine for like a rescue effect. But yeah, I'm guessing it's in here to like reset battle mages, so then you can play them again and get their kicker abilities again. That's being really generous at like why it's in here, honestly. But it's such a random card to include. Like I definitely would have preferred pretty much almost anything else. And then we've got a single Power Armor, so 4 mana artifact, has a domain ability. You can pay 3 and tap, give a creature +X, so equals your domain count, which is really actually quite nice. It's a nice repeatable buff effect. Again, if this is giving like, say at minimum like +3/+3, like which is sort of like I think the bare minimum you want for a domain. Yeah, this is pretty good. Like 3 mana to give +3/+3 all the time, and like potentially more. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. And then a single Coalition Relic, so 3 mana, taps to give you 1 mana of any color, which obviously helps out with all your multicolored stuff. And then on the second ability, tap to put a charge counter on it. And then at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you remove all charge counters from Coalition Relic and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool for every counter removed this way. So I've never played this card before. And it honestly, it confused me a long time. And I think I get it. So please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. So I'm guessing what the ideal situation with this is at end of your opponent's turn, you tap it to put a charge counter on it, and then on your your pre-combat main phase, you take the charge counter off, you get the 1 mana, and then you tap it for the extra 1 mana, so you get 2 mana out of it, like in a sort of a very roundabout way. I'm guessing that's the use of it. So you get 2 mana out of it, like of any color, which obviously helps out. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because this card has confused me for a very, really long time, and I think I finally understand it. But I might not. I say depends what your comments are from people who actually have experience using this card. And then we've got 3 Terramorphic Expanses, which is obviously really useful to help hit all the domains. Obviously, use search up all your basic lands, so you can end up with 1 of each. Single Elfane Palace, which is the old green-white dual land, comes in play tapped. Shivan Oasis, which is the green-red dual land, comes in play tapped. And we've got 10 forests, 4 plains, 4 mountains, and then only 1 island and 1 swamp, which I feel like you could have maybe had like 1 extra island and 1 extra swamp, and then maybe like a few extra like blue or black cards. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know, because yeah, if you don't find the way of drawing the land, then like you're not getting your domain effects, and I don't know. It feels like a very fragile mana base, considering we're like trying to work off like 5 color cards here, maybe. So yeah, like I was saying with Urza's Rage, weird card I think for the foil face rare, and I think there's 2 options I think that I think it definitely could have been like, or definitely had strong consideration. So the first one is Coalition Victory, and so this is a card I talked about like way back in when I was doing the season 1 decks, when I was talking about the invasion decks, and there was like a 5-color deck, and I can't remember what the rare off the top of my head was. It wasn't. It might have been a 5-color card, but it wasn't Coalition Victory. And I said in that video, all the way like nearly 2 years ago, I said like when we get to the Phyrexia versus Coalition dual decks, we're gonna talk about this card. We're gonna talk about Coalition Victory, and I would put forward to you that I think Coalition Victory would have been a really good foil face rare because it's big and it's splashy. It could have got like new art. It could have got like a nice new foil face treatment, like new frame and everything. The deck maybe could have been restructured a little bit so it can definitely hit that you have a creature of each color that's more reliable, and you have like it has a domain of sort of like sub theme, so it covers that. But man, how cool would it have been to have Coalition Victory as the foil face card? As I say, Urza's Rage I think is an okay card, but like I don't know why it's the foil face card. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel very, because it's a deck that's meant to be showing off the Coalition, and like I feel like you've got a perfect card for doing that here, and it's just really mind-boggling why that wasn't chosen. And then the other option that's been staring at you on the screen here is Legacy Weapon. I think this could have been like a really nice alternative, like foil face rare here. So 7 mana, legendary artifact, and you pay 1 mana of every color to just do exile a permanent, just gone. And if it goes into the graveyard from anywhere, it gets shuffled back into the library instead. So this could have been really good as well, because again, like in terms of like story and lore and stuff, this is also really important. It's like the big Hail Mary the Coalition uses to like seal away Phyrexia. It's something like that. I can't remember exactly, but again, it's really important to the story, and like again, would have been useful. Would have been nice, and could have done it with new artwork and foil, foil frame and everything. And I think this would have been cool. So ultimately, I think this deck is let down by having Urza's Rage as the foil face rare. Maybe, I don't know. I'd love to hear what you think about this, and if maybe one of these cards can make it, or if you think there's a different 5-color card that could have been the foil face rare of the Coalition deck. So as you can probably tell, I'm not super on board with the Coalition deck, and I think it's because I don't know. It's definitely deja vu. I'm feeling like when I went through all the invasion decks, and like we had one 5-color deck for in each of the invasion blocks. So invasion, plane shift, and apocalypse all had a 5-color deck, and they all took a swing at it. And like I feel like one of them was okay, but 2 of them were a bit iffy from what I remember. And man, this just gave me flashbacks of doing that again, where it's like kind of old Magic, like trying to do 5 colors, and it's like at Precon janky level, so it's not wonderful, I don't think. I didn't actually get to play these 2 decks against each other. I picked it up and then I think again like cannibalized it pretty much, or like was kind of disappointed by the contents. I didn't really play it that much. But of the 2, my heart belongs to Phyrexia. I think the Phyrexian deck is just a lot more well structured, and because it's mono black, it's hard to go wrong with that. It's got some really nice synergies with the artifacts and Voltaic Key. Phyrexian Processor is like a card I really like. And it's got some really nice reprints in there, like the Living Death and Phyrexian Arena, Phyrexian Negator. So some really nice cards in the Phyrexian deck, and I just don't think the Coalition deck can match up to it, honestly. But as always, I would really like to know what you think about these 2 decks. Like, if you got this project and you played the decks against each other, like, did one always win against the other? Like, was it kind of unbalanced, or did it work out okay? Was it kind of an equal win ratio? Please, let me know. Stick a comment down below if you've got any stories or thoughts or comments or opinions about either of the decks. Let me know which of those 2 you liked the look of, which was your favorite. I really like to know. So always like hearing people's comments. But so it's all. We're going to take a little interlude here. So I mentioned in a video a while ago that I'm not doing all the dual deck videos in like kind of one long go like I normally would in the previous seasons, basically because it's just like a lot of work and I kind of don't want to burn out on it. So I'm going to stagger the approach, also because we're running out of pre-constructed content for me to even look at. So we're going to stagger it a little bit. So we're going to call this like the end of like part 1 of this dual deck season. I'm going to intersperse it with some get decked videos because I really like making those get decked videos and people seem to like them, so I'll do some of those. And then after the Get Deck videos, then we'll do sort of like another 5 of the dual decks, so that'll be like another sort of 10 videos. So we'll do it that way and stagger it so it's not as relentless, I suppose. So well, I hope you join me next time for, well, we'll go back to Get Deck videos, or I might do, you know, a smaller video in between it, might do a little trash talk or something. But yeah, I hope you like this initial first look at kind of like the first wave of dual decks, and I hope you join me when I come back to them and start looking at them again. But yeah, thanks for watching and listening, and have an amazing day.